Welcome to Heart of a Halfling. We talk about Lord of the Rings and a little bit about D&D, so let's get to it. Today we're going to do something different. We're going to be painting a mimic today. So let's get started. So here I'm just showing you the mimic that I'm going to be painting. My husband printed a grand piano for me. That's a mimic. I've played the piano for 21 years, love mimics, so it was the perfect combination of things. So yeah, I just kind of wanted to talk about mimics. My husband and I have been playing D&D for, I don't know, 6 or 7 years now. And as soon as I learned about mimics, I was just like enthralled with them. I just think there's something so cool about an item being something other than what it appears to be, except for doppelgangers. Like doppelgangers, I know it's not a mimic, obviously, it's a doppelganger. But if you've ever seen a doppelganger, that is the creepiest thing. And so, no, I don't like that at all. It's not the same as a mimic being something else. It's not. It's creepy. Mimics, however, I think are really cool. And I haven't, in the past, I've never really done a whole lot of research into mimics and their lore and all of that. But I was like, hey, this is a great opportunity to find out about mimics. So, something I didn't know is that in the third edition, they're considered an aberration. So, I thought this was a cool concept, and it doesn't seem to have held over into the fifth edition, which I think is kind of sad. But basically, mimics are like a failed a failed spell of a wizard or something, and that may be totally wrong, but that's how I'm understanding this. But I think that's really cool, and that mimics had their own language, and that it was just like at the beginning, and I guess like the first edition, they had their own language so that you could actually negotiate with a mimic, which I think is so cool. I don't know why we don't do that anymore. And then eventually just became that mimics have their own language, and it's like a corrupted version of whatever the wizard's language was, which I guess kind of that makes sense. So yeah, I thought that was kind of cool. Another thing that I thought was interesting was what exactly a mimic looks like, which I guess I never gave any thought to that. Like, and it has to be an actual creature taking on these forms of like treasure chests and things like that. And so there's this article that states that a mimic's hide is naturally gray in hue with a smooth, very hard outer skin that appears stone like, and that a mimic is able to change the color and texture of its outer surface to resemble wood grain by shifting a brown pigmented liquid between its interior and exterior body cells to fill the many capillaries lying just beneath the skin surface, while the creature can empty these capillaries to revert to its normal stone like appearance. And yes, this is off of Wikipedia. I'm not going to be shamed for that. But the article is from a 1983 issue of Dragon, and it's from The Ecology of the Mimic by Ed Greenwood. So yeah, so when I read that, I just got this horrified image of like finding a mimic before it's chosen its item to mimic. And so you just see this weird, I don't know, this like little gray ball just skirting around everywhere, like a moving rock, I guess. I don't know. It was just a weird picture in my head. I thought it was also interesting that there are stone mimics as well as wood mimics. And I think at one point there was even a metal mimic, so that's kind of cool. But I guess like the most common ones that you would see would be wood. I don't know. But these are all like in the earlier editions of D&D. Another thing was the killer mimic. So there was like different types of mimics. You had your smaller mimics, and then your larger mimics were just killer mimics. So like you could possibly negotiate with the smaller ones, but if you met with a big mimic, just that's not going to happen. It is a killer mimic. It will kill you. And the other thing too is that mimics don't have, like, they're not aligned in either way. They're not good or bad. They're just like surviving creatures. So yeah, I thought all that was really neat. And of course, there's plenty of like YouTube videos. If you want to know more about mimics, you can go check those out. But yeah, I just wanted to take this time to talk about mimics and painting minis. I am not just a huge fan of painting minis. My husband is. That's how he relaxes and unwinds. He just comes to our game room, sits down, maybe puts YouTube on, and just paints minis for however long he can. And man, like the patience he has, because I don't have that kind of patience. He can just sit there forever and paint these minis. I can't. It makes me squirmy. Like even here, like there's a lot of bits that are cut out of me just sitting it down and just like walking away because, oh, it makes me squirmy. They're just so tiny and I don't want to mess up. Oh, and here I'm doing the eyes. Oh man, this little handle that my husband got is just so nifty. And it made painting the eyes a lot easier, but I'm sitting there like holding my breath in this moment, trying to make sure I don't totally mess this up. So yeah, but he's able to do that. He puts like pupils on all of his minis, which I think is just fascinating. I do make an attempt on that later on this mimic, but yeah, he just has an outrageous amount of patience that I can only dream of having. So yeah, and as far as like the piano goes, you would think I would have more patience with how long I've played the piano. Like I remember when I first started, everybody was like, "Oh, this is going to help you, of course gain discipline and, work all parts of your brain. And of course, it's going to give you patience. You're going to have patience in learning this instrument." So you would think I would have more, but I don't. Or maybe I have more than I did when I started, and that's just frightening to think about of how impatient I used to be then. Here I'm doing the teeth, and I was so worried the whole time that I was like, I'm gonna get paint on something else and it's gonna mess up. But I think also this was the part where I was like, whoa, this is looking cool. Like it really started to come together. Because I had painted everything just brown to begin with to kind of all give it the same undertone. I didn't know if the concept would sort of relate on doing a mimic. Like I know in watercolor and even in oil painting and I think acrylic too, like if you cover your canvas with a solid color like a wash, it'll kind of give all of your tones or all of your paint colors the same tonal value, kind of make them all be a little more cohesive. And I thought maybe that would apply here, and I think it did. I think it worked just as well here with painting minis with just watered down acrylics. I'm trying to go back over the back of this piano because it's really, really streaky. But in the end, I think it kind of worked out. It makes it look more like wood. So it kind of worked out, but I want to try and do one more coat of it. Yeah, my husband has, oh man, I'm gonna have to take a video and just brag on my husband and all of his minis. He does such a phenomenal job painting them. And I've painted my minis for my characters before, but they never turn out the way his turn out. Like, he is just really good at it. I try to convince him to sell his minis and or his painting jobs for his minis. And now we have a resin printer and a filament printer, so I don't see why he couldn't maybe print some minis and then paint them, and he can make some money off of it. I think he does a really good job. Most, like, at the beginning of this, he was actually sitting with me and telling me, okay, now you need to make sure your paint's watered down. And I was like, oh, I'm getting bubbles in my paint. He goes, you're putting it on too thick. So he's over there, like, trying to help me to better paint my minis. So yeah, I'm just bragging on him this video, I guess. But my husband kind of, he teases me every once in a while because I love mimics so much. And I saw somewhere, I think it was on Etsy, they were like these little stickers that would say, like, warning mimic. And you could just put them all over the place, like on your microwave or your oven or refrigerator or whatever. And I wanted them so bad because it makes me laugh. Everything's a mimic. So here I am, all done, got the base painted. I'm trying to show you guys sort of what it looks like, but yeah, here are the pictures. So you can see the pupils in it. I really enjoyed doing this one for someone who doesn't really like minis, painting minis, but I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you next week, and may the hair on your toes never fall out. Bye.